Hello, fellow writers. I'm Lewis. That over there is Tolkien, and you found the Scripturient Society.
Welcome back, you beautiful, beautiful, beautiful writers. I give you three beautifuls because I'm feeling less than beautiful today. So I know that, especially in comparison, everyone's looking fabulous, including Carissa, who looks so clean. That over there is your host, Carissa Harlow, aka Catherine, aka Lewis. I'm Asha Rourke, aka Tolkien. And today, Lewis, I guess her hair is wet and she has it in French braids. So she just looks like fresh faced, like she looks refreshed. And it sounds wonderful. I might have to take a shower after this and French braid my hair a little bit just because I'm eating cold mango and strawberry. I'm trying to cool off over here. So you just look like what I want to feel like right now.
Well, thank you. That's the weirdest and yet nicest compliment, that I look clean.
You do look clean. Yeah. I mean, you're beautiful as always, but I mean, I thought I could be more specific.
Yeah.
And that you
go a
also
little different
clean.
Direction than normal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I said I was going to fix my mic so it's not jutting weirdly into my green screen today. I didn't fix it. I'll fix it next week. Sorry guys, but I'm not that
appearing
sorry.
and disappearing. So
yeah, it's it is. So I put my hand in front of it and you can just see my hand instead. I don't know if that's better.
Just
sorry
sit that way the whole time.
If I'm insane today, I'm sorry. I had a 2.5-hour work meeting and then I had to rush through chores. And this 2.5-hour work meeting was me wrangling grown men into going through this dry run for this thing that I'm not even going to be there for. So I'm wow, the fact that we can't seem to get through it. And all of them, I know they don't do it on purpose, but they just throw me under the bus constantly. And it's they don't know how not to. So it was 2.5 hours of somehow both managing them, but having to never let them know that I'm managing them. It was exhausting.
Secret managing.
Yeah, secret managing. And also being just okay, they didn't mean it when they throw me under the bus, each and every one of them. So I'm tired. I'm tired and my eyes hurt because it was such a long freaking meeting. God, anyways, Carissa, how has your week been? Tell me something good.
That sounds terrible.
It was bad.
My week is good. It was this week, right? We got snow, which was pretty awesome. And we have this one obligatory snow day now, every year. For the past probably 7 years, we've had 6 snow days, right? We had a Sabbath year where there wasn't a snow day, I guess, but then there's otherwise. But yeah, it was really fun. And so Aurora, the dog, she is black.
You're the dog, not the princess.
Yeah, exactly. And normally she just blends in to the couch or the blankets and stuff, but in the snow she's so visible. I'm she finally found a background in which we can see her. And so we got some really cute pictures of her. And Luna was super excited too. They were very confused at first. They're what is this falling from the sky? Can I eat it? And then they found out they could, and they were happy. So
me, same, honestly, same.
Yeah,
that's funny. Maybe that's the solution for Flora, because she's a black cat too, and I cannot seem to get a good picture. She just any background, she's not there.
Snow.
Yeah,
apparently that's only option.
In the snow. And I'm about ready to also, and I'll get into that in my week. But continue.
Oh, okay. But yeah, the snow was fun, and it was also really chilly. So, I mean, nice because bundling up is fun, but also I hadn't been warm for about 2 weeks. So that was also not fun.
That's horrible. I hate that.
It's kind of I know that obviously I'm in such a great position with indoor heating and all that kind of stuff, but I'm still sitting there sometimes I'm going to die. This is not enough heat. What is happening to me?
Yeah.
I know I won't.
We don't have central heating at all. So it's it's painful. But we still have plug-in heaters, and I'm how did people survive?
How did people do it on just house insulation and blankets? I can't even imagine. No. I guess that's why people died really young.
Well, yeah, but also the people have fireplaces and wood stoves. Yeah, but in our old house, we only had a wood stove when we lived in Oregon. We had heating, but it didn't really work. And so we would all just go downstairs to the room that had the heater, and we would all just lay on the ground around the heater. I guess that's what you do. I don't know.
Yeah. It is really interesting because I'm not going to remember the specifics, but certain parts of the country don't have like as efficient or as complete of like air conditioning systems or heating systems. And in Arizona, I don't know, we have both because it does get really cold, at least for Arizonans, and it gets really hot, obviously. But like
Yeah.
you go to some parts of the country and they're like, yeah, we just chill in the basement during the summer because it's cool down there and we don't want to
Yeah.
like air condition the house. I'm like, what? You just relegate yourself to one half of the house?
Yeah, it's weird. But I mean, that was kind of us in Oregon in the winter. I mean, you didn't
Mhm.
want to be upstairs because the wood stove was downstairs. We would just
Yeah,
all go downstairs.
it's so interesting.
That's
So,
funny.
thank God for indoor heating. I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, 100%.
I
Yes.
love it. Other than that, I don't think anything that interesting has happened to me. Um, nope. So, do you want to get into your week?
Sure, sure. We have been having this saga. I can't remember if I've said this before. I probably have, where the cats, one of the cats in particular, we assumed was peeing everywhere.
Mm.
Right? Like on my kitchen counters, which made me want to kill myself and everyone in the house.
Oh
Like I've
gosh.
never been so just everything inside of me is offended and is upset
Mhm.
and just so deeply disturbed. And it's been horrible. It's been weeks of trying to figure out which one did it. We narrowed it down, took her to the vet. She has a UTI. Okay, so now she's on like UTI medicine. But she started a new thing, which is so gross. I won't get into it because we're not going to talk about it. I still want to eat my mango at some point that I have sitting here.
Okay.
By the way, if you guys hear like clinking, clanking, it's my fork. I'm trying to really discreetly take a couple bites of my mango every now and then because I am starving. But anyways, so we ended up putting her outside, and she is now an outside cat, which
Ah,
she's not loving, but she's still here. There's
right.
plenty of places for her to like hide and hang out, and there's food and water. So I'm like, I don't know what
You're
to tell
fine.
you. Like, she'll be okay. I
Yeah.
think my brother actually might have found someone who wants to adopt her, which is great. But I'm like, we're not doing that until she's done with her medicine because that's really mean. We're not going to give
Yeah.
someone a cat that's peeing everywhere. That's rude. So when
Well,
she's
how
done with
rude. Who
it
would
is
do such a
rude.
thing?
So rude. I wouldn't do that to someone. But anyway, so we were like, okay, hooray, problem solved. And it was solved for one day because a different cat peed on the counter.
Oh
And I'm
no.
like, oh, absolutely. And I think I know who it was. You would think it would be the old cat with a history of UTIs, and it could be her. It could be Lily, our older cat. But I have a suspicion because at one point, P appeared on the same counter, same place. And Lily, I know for a fact, was locked with Yennefer in my mom's room because they spend all day in there. And I know for a fact that it couldn't have been them. So I'm like, it had to have been Flora. And Flora, our black cat, has, you guys, everyone is like, that's too many cats in a house. I agree. Okay, I
This is
agree.
like murder mystery feline version. You have to have a lot of cats for it to be interesting.
Yeah,
So
it's true. God, it really is like a murder mystery because I'm always like, who's the main suspect? Who has a history? Like, who has a motive? And the motive is that Flora hates our electric litter box, which is funny because I love it so much. I love it so much. I would cut off a toe or a finger for it. Like, I
that's
would
why
just to
she
keep
hates
it.
it. It's to spite you.
Probably. Yeah, she's like, oh, it makes mom happy. It makes her life easier. Screw that. She wants to make my life really hard. And so now I suspect it's her because twice, I will say, actually, it's been twice that P has appeared on the counter. That one time I'm 100% sure couldn't have been Lily because I know for a fact she and Yennefer were locked up. Another time I'm like 95% sure that Lily was locked up because she often is just because she likes to stay in my mom's room and we keep that door shut. So my guess is that it's her. And that's infuriating. I'm like, you're young and healthy. There's no way that you all have UTIs.
Right.
If it continues, I will just have to take all of them to the vet, which is infuriating and expensive, and cat medicine is expensive. But anyways, so that's been my week. I now have 2 litter boxes in my house, a normal one and the very expensive electric one we got so we could get rid of the normal one. So I'm furious and very upset.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's embarrassing to have people over to my house because I feel like they can all smell cat pee somewhere because it's so hard to get that smell out. And I'm like, the fact that my kitchen smells, it makes me want to burn my entire house down with me inside. Like, it's just the most upsetting thing. Like, it is.
That started out so reasonable, and then you're like, with me inside.
With me inside because I feel contaminated too. I hate it. I'm so frustrated. I'm literally like, I don't use my kitchen counters anymore. It doesn't matter how many times we Lysol and bleach them. I'm like, the table
like,
is
it
wobbly,
doesn't feel
but
clean enough.
it'll never feel clean enough. So I'm literally like sanitizing the kitchen table and putting like cutting boards and mats down on the kitchen table, and I'm preparing food at the table because I don't want to use the counters. So all I can say is thank God we're building a house, and God, please help it go quickly, because this house is killing me, because the cat is killing me, and I'm gonna kill the cat soon. I'm gonna. So
well, at least like hopefully you're getting this worked out so that they won't do it in the new house.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
hopefully.
true. Hopefully, but also the new house is going to be concrete floors. So the floors won't get stained. The countertops are also going to be concrete, unlike these, which are like it's wood with like this weird kind of plastic covering. And so, but stuff can
It
get beneath it
absorbs.
into the wood. Exactly. That's the thing. And everything is put together badly. Like the way that like they put like the backsplash up against like the counter and the cabinet, there's like cracks in there. So I can't fully ever get the smell out and clean it right. And I'm like, the new house is not going to be like that. It is going to be so cleanable. It is going to be so sanitizable. Like,
oh my
we
gosh.
won't have this problem regardless. Also because I'm going to like build like a cat room off the side of the house, and the cats are just going to hang out in there. And if they destroy it, they destroy the cat room, not the house.
Right.
So
good plan.
I mean, I guess that's been my week. I'm so tired, and I shouldn't be. I go to bed so early. I think the animals exhaust me, but yeah.
You know, okay, so actually speaking of animals again, I forgot to say, and I just want to note it, that it was also Luna's birthday this week. So
I know.
2 year olds, and
So cute.
it's so cute. It's funny because Aurora's birthday was last week, and we got a bunch of toys for them, and then we kind of divvied them out on both days. And so Luna, like, when we gave Aurora her toy, she just kind of like huddled in and tried to block Luna from taking it. But when we gave Luna her toy, she ran away, and I had to go hunt her down and find her. And I found her in like the end room of the hall, and she had like, you know, like her butt in the air, and she was like crouching down to pounce and just like looking at me like, do not take this toy. I'm like, Luna, it's yours. I'm not going to take it, but come back in the room with everyone.
My gosh, that's
it was so cute.
I love how different dogs play with toys. Ruby, like, just she like will like a normal dog, like a puppy, will play with them. Winnie is so weird, like with stuffed toys. He just gently carries them around in his mouth, and he'll like place them down really carefully, and then he'll pick them up, and then he'll carry them somewhere else, or he'll just
like
hold it and look at you. That's so funny. Only with like the stuffed animal toys. It's so weird.
Aurora's kind of like, she's not violent, but she's definitely like usually unaware of how she affects people. Like, she'll jump on you and not realize that her claws hurt, or she'll bite at you and not realize that like you're telling her to stop.
Ruby
but
too. Yeah.
there are just random things that she will be so gentle with, and you will hold it out to her and she'll just gently put her jaw around it and test how like far she can go. Like, we were taking shelves off the wall, and I had a screw, like a really long screw in my hand, and she wanted to bite it. So she's just gently gnawing at the end of the screw. I'm like, of all things to be gentle with, this is the thing, huh? Not my fingers, but this.
No. She's like, this could hurt me. If it could hurt you, that's a different story.
Exactly. And it's just so cute to see her be gentle, because I'm like, I know you're capable of it now. Why can't you do this all the time?
It's infuriating. Ruby does the same thing all the time. She's just full puppy all the way, all the time. You guys can probably hear her barking in the other room.
And I because I saw Ruby on camera, like, I don't know, was it last week or the week before? So I was like teasing the puppies, like, they don't understand me, but I tease them anyway. So I was like, you know, I think Ruby's already bigger than both of you. And they kind of gave me this like tilted head velociraptor look, like like, what are you saying? Interesting. What do we do about this? It was just really cute.
That's so cute. Yeah, Ruby is definitely I want to say she's rotund. I know she's not. Like, she's growing like correctly for her age. She just one week she lengthens out, and the next week she widens out, and then she lengthens out, and then she widens out. And right now she's like on a widening out week. Also, her fur is getting like a really curly and kind of crazy. So I'm like, you just look so funny.
You look weird. It is weird because Aurora and Luna are not only the same breed, but they have the same father, and yet their body types are totally different, because Aurora is just like a slinky. She's so long, and like if you try to hold her, she just flops out of your arms the other way. But Luna is so like stout, right? Like strong, like she can jump really well. So like Luna, it's so easy to carry her because she's like a package, but Aurora's like trying to carry a snake. It's so weird how different they are.
That is so funny. I'm trying to think. Both my animals are pretty floppy. Yeah. By both my dogs, I mean by animals. There's a lot of other ones. Like, we got guinea fowl, I can't remember if I told you that we did that. We got 5 grown guinea fowl. They're hilarious looking. I love them. And so when you want to like make them roost on your property, it's really tricky because they're even the quote unquote domesticated ones are just basically wild. I think we've had this conversation. They're just, as far as like poultry intelligence goes, absolute bottom of the barrel. So you have to like, and so they'll just walk, like they'll just wander and they'll just roam wildly.
Go wherever they want.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to like try and like quote unquote train them to stay on the property, the idea is like get them used to the chicken coop and then release them one at a time because they won't leave each other. So it's so sad. I like had to like go in there to like the area where I was keeping the guineas, grab one by the feet. And they're so funny because when you grab them by the feet and they hang upside down, they just like hang there.
Like, all right, this is my fate.
Like, yeah, other than that, chickens do it too. They just like panic and freak out. And I'm like, stupid. So I'm carrying this like prone like guinea out and I throw it outside the coop and it's so sad. She just like screamed and hung out right outside the chicken coop all day. And I was like, this is sad, but this is effective. So tomorrow I'll let another one out. And the next day another one. And the next time I'm gonna let the last 2 out because I don't want to leave just one in there. So I'm happy because they'll be self-sufficient as soon as they're all out. I won't have to
training them for life.
Yeah, I am. So they'll be fine. Like I just have to keep a little bit of water on the property, which I always do. There are so much grass, so much bugs. They'll be fine. Maybe they'll take care of the snakes. I've already seen more snakes this year than I did at all last year. So I need them to start beating guineas.
Right.
So yeah, it's great. They're so ugly. I love them so much.
They're so ugly. They're cute.
They are. I love them. They're just so weird looking. And they have these like giant, just all black eyes. And they always look kind of panicked. So they look at you and they're like, it's just so funny because like usually like the animals with the all black eyes, you're like, I sense a strange lack of emotion in them, you know?
Yeah.
Not the guineas. Like they're very emotive, I feel like, for completely brainless animals with just like pure black eyes. They're like always like unnecessarily wide.
Yeah.
So funny.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, if you guys have never seen a guinea fowl, you should look at guinea fowl. Sometimes I talk about guineas and people are like guinea pigs, and I realize they've been picturing guinea pigs the whole time I've been talking, which makes a lot less sense.
No.
No, a guinea fowl. It looks a bit like a turkey, a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I think they're cuter, but
nice.
Yeah, I don't want any turkeys. Hobby was like, let's get an emu. I was like, absolutely not. We're not getting an emu. Why would we?
But then you can name it Limu, and it can be like Limu Emu, which is my favorite.
Oh my gosh, that is too funny. Well, we're already getting a donkey, so I feel like we're already getting one animal that doesn't have too much of a purpose here. The only animal that we're getting that doesn't have a big purpose. He does have a purpose, but his name's gonna be Don Quixote. Like Don Quixote, but Donkey, I think I said that before. And I'm gonna call him Odie, like Donkey Odie, because it's cuter. So I'll call him Odie. But so I'm like getting everything ready for Odie and like have to get the barn ready for Odie, have to get a horse trailer of some kind, or at least find one to rent, which is actually impossible, which is infuriating. So if any of y'all are rural writers out there, I don't know if there are any of y'all, if you have any suggestions for where to like buy a used horse trailer or borrow or rent one, I sure would love to know because I'm having a hell of a time. So we have to like, I was like calling like the equine vet in town because our town is so small. They have a giant like bovine and equine veterinary center and a little bitty normal veterinary center that's very expensive that we don't go to.
Right.
But I was like, hey, I need to get this donkey castrated. And no one get mad. It's because they behave so much better. So it's called a gelding, is like a castrated male donkey. So you get them gelded, and I need Odie to be gelded so that he'll be a good pet donkey. But he's not old enough yet. So I'm like trying to like coordinate all of it. And oh my God, it's just so much to keep in mind. And we haven't even gotten the goats yet. But goats I've had before. So I'm not, I know, I'm prepared. I know what it takes. I'm a lot more prepared for that. So anyways, it's just, I'm tired. I think that all started from me saying I'm tired. I'm very, very tired. And even when I'm not working physically, my brain is tired. But I get up at like between 5:45 and 6:15 every morning. And I go outside and I work for 2 hours. And then I come inside and I start my work day. So, and then at the end of the day, I have about another hour of chores. So
farm life.
Farm life. And honestly, those are the most fulfilling parts of my day or short time. But I also have a full-time job in between it and 2 podcasts and like trying to keep the house relatively clean and not covered in cat pee. And to like eat nutritional food every now and then. I'm so tired. If anyone has any magic cures for exhaustion, I sure would like to know.
I've heard that sleep is useful.
This is
So
the thing. I've been going to sleep at like 7:30 or 8. So I mean, I'm still having like 10 or 11 hours of sleep, even waking up early. And I'm like, how is
right.
that not sufficient? But today I was like, it's not. I need to take a nap
It's
on my
not
lunch
enough.
break. It was not
Aw.
enough. Anyways, that was my week and also just all of my complaints. I'll try and be more positive next week. I will say, I think, did I ever say this before the pod or on the pod about my strawberries with tahini? Was that before the pod?
I think it was before. You mentioned
Okay.
mangoes.
I'm eating mangoes and strawberries, or I ate all my strawberries because they were noisier and crunchier. These were frozen mangoes, so I'm hoping I can like sneak eat them and it won't like be horrible for y'all's ears.
Mm.
But so if you guys have not done it yet, this is very much like a thing in the South. Is this thing in Arizona too? Like fruit
I don't think
and
so.
veggies with tahini? No, maybe it's like more of a South Texas thing. But so like get a bowl of cold fruit, y'all. Go to the store, get tahini. It's like kind of like chili and lime flavored seasoning, and it's so good.
Mhm.
You put it on cucumbers, watermelon, strawberry, mango, whatever. You can put it on cantaloupe. I'm allergic, so I don't. And I was out of it today because every time I go, I buy so much tahini. I probably buy 6 containers a year. They're big containers. You never
Yeah,
go through a whole one. And they're
right.
all gone every time I go to look for the tahini. So I put
Someone's
beer
hiding them.
salts on my fruit instead, which if you guys have not tried beer salt, it's amazing. It's just lime salt and it's so
Mm.
good. So I just like poured a bunch of lime salt on my fruit today because there was no tahini.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's your food recommendation for the week, and also a hack if you're out of tahini and or everyone in your family uses all the tahini, or just there's no way they're even using it. Where is
Yeah,
it?
it's just gone. They hid it somewhere.
They
They're
like
like,
must
this
have.
is the place that she will find it. And then you're like, that's the one place I did not think to look.
It's annoying because like when people use tahini, a lot of times like they'll just carry it around like with whatever they're eating and like put more on
Mm,
like each bite.
right.
Like they'll put it on the whole bowl, but then they'll also put it on each bite. And I'm
Mhm.
like, one or the other, because then they take it around with them and it just disappears. So
Right.
anyways, that turned into a complaint also, but it wasn't supposed to be.
It's
I'm
fine.
really
You're
enjoying
like
that.
so cheerful in your complaints. You're like, I'm sorry, I'm so negative. I'm like, these are probably the most cheerful complaints I've ever heard. So
What a relief. Thank God. I'm so pleased to hear it.
yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to share about your week, or should we get into book recs?
Book recs
Hell yeah.
of which I have none. I am reading, we're back to this. I am reading the sequel still to the one I recced last week. So When Night Breaks, which is the
Mhm.
sequel. And it is good. Again, I feel like I'm accidentally saying something bad about these books. They are very good, but there are two things going on. This is not a book rec. I don't know why I'm talking about this, but I'm going to keep going. One is just that I'm in a reading slump, and
Mhm.
I already started this book and I can't like stop in the middle or like DNF or go for something else. Like that's just not within my capabilities. So I have to
DNF.
push through. Do not finish. You never heard that
Oh,
before?
no, I haven't. Is that a TikTok
Oh my
thing?
gosh.
I'm
I
so out
don't
of
know.
the
I
loop.
think it's like a Goodreads thing. I've seen it on
Hmm.
Goodreads. It's like if people don't finish it
Huh.
and then they review it, they acknowledge that. But
Guys, I'm
anyway, if
not
you
a
didn't
phony, I
know,
promise. I just don't spend enough
yeah,
time online.
yeah. And really, it's like not something I do. So it's not the kind of acronym that came to my mind. It's definitely
Mhm.
something I hear from other people.
Yeah,
But,
I
and I
figured.
don't, yeah, I don't want to DNF them because they are good. But I do also think there's a Throne of Glass scenario happening here. And if I haven't talked about that, I read Throne of Glass and I read the first 4 books of the series, and I'm just not into it. I think they're good, right? They are objectively good. I see why other people like them, but there's just
I
something
loved the
about them
first
that's not
one.
for me. Yeah.
Mhm.
Something about them that's not for me. And I think that's what's happening with these books is that I really want to like them because they are really beautifully written, but I think there's just something off about them that's not for me. So
Aw.
that's why I want to wreck them, because I do think it's a me problem, or not like a problem, just like a me issue.
Mhm.
They are good. But and I'm gonna finish them. I just have to push through to finish them. So
Man, I
yeah.
understand that. I definitely do that a lot too.
Yeah. So it is a book rec. I came full circle. It is a book rec. It's just for you, not me.
A book rec for everyone who's not Carissa.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
And maybe
funny.
if you also didn't like Throne of Glass, maybe these are I don't think they're similar at all. I really just think there must be something weird about them that isn't for me. So
Yeah,
whatever.
that's funny.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a book rec because I think I already gave mine last week. Didn't I already give Catcher in the Rye as a book rec? I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
I did, like in pretty big detail. I think I did. So I don't really have a new book rec for you guys. I don't even remember what I'm reading this week. I do know that I thought I had already like ordered all of my books from Thrift Books for our sister podcast, That Pretentious Book Club, or not all of them, but a lot of them for the season. And nope, I hadn't. So I was like, oh my God, I don't like ordering books on Amazon. I try not to if I can avoid it, but I was like, nope, I have to because I have to read this now. It's called The Shamer's Daughter. It's in a series. I don't know anything about it, but that's what we're going to cover on That Pretentious Book Club next. And it looks good. I think it's a YA fantasy, I think. I don't know. It's got a nice cover. So if anyone knows anything about it and you want to message me about it, you certainly can.
Nice.
Yep. What about our word of the week?
All right, our word of the week is Cicerone. 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 And this is a guide who gives information to sightseers about antiquities and places of interest, or one who conducts sightseers.
Oh,
like a guide. And I feel like it's an Italian thing, I think is where it originated. So it's kind of like the person that takes you around the city and guides you.
Cicerone.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's fun. And also I feel like if you are working on a world building kind of thing, maybe you could like use some version of that term.
Yeah, that's cool. You definitely could. It makes me think of have you watched Chicago, the musical?
No, but I know the song you're thinking of. Yeah,
I always
Cicero.
Yeah, Cicero.
Hotel Cicero.
Yeah. Yep. Anyways, that's all I can think about. But I can never remember like the order of all of those words.
Yeah.
So I can't be clever because I always get the order mixed up.
Hop six.
Wish. Cicero. Lift shit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that was a teamwork. I'm so glad you knew the first ones.
Yeah. I do love that song.
Cicerone.
Whip shits.
Yep.
All good
stuff.
one.
Fantastic. Yeah. I like that. That's a word we should use more. I can't believe it's like falling out of use. It's so useful.
I feel like potentially in America, we just don't have a lot of Cicerones.
Antiquities?
Like, well, yeah, we don't have a lot of like old things and like in like a concentrated place where someone could just like take you around to visit.
That's true.
So the closest I think we get is like ghost tours. Like my parents and I used to do ghost tours whenever we would go places. So I think that's technically a Cicerone, but then it's like a super niche kind of guide.
Cicerone. Yeah.
So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I think it's probably a European. It's probably very common in Europe still. I don't know if they call them this, but I feel like the concept is more common in Europe.
Yeah, probably. God, Europe has such cool stuff.
Yeah.
I love that.
So old.
I know. Love old stuff. Obviously, I married an old man. I'm just kidding. He's not that old. He's not that old.
He's not as old as Europe.
No, he's not as old as Europe.
Who needs him?
That old.
Could be immortal.
I was like, had a burst of energy and then it all went away. I literally just like, if you guys are watching the video, I literally just like powered down like a robot for a second.
Your head hung. I was like, is everything cool?
Ash? Oh my God. My body is like, give up now. Give up while you still can. Anyways, is there anything else we want to say about Cicerone except that it's a great word that we should use more?
No, that about covers it.
Or maybe that we should move to Europe so we can use the word more. It's more practical.
One of the two.
Yeah, one of the two. Whatever you know is the easiest for you in your life.
Yeah. Probably the second. It's hard to change a culture.
Yeah, it's true. I think what you're saying is correct. I think that we should just move to Europe. I think that's easier. Oh, well, do you want to get into the theme for this episode?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about another trope. The secret heir or lost heir trope, whichever anyone prefers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one. So, it's a tried and true one. It's occasionally an overdone one, but like everything, there's always a way to do it in an original way. So don't let that stop you.
So the definition that I found, because I do that, I find definitions now, is that this trope is when a character's parentage or lineage is unknown until being later revealed at a convenient time. Which I think is a great definition, first of all, because it's accurate, but second of all, because it doesn't have to be royalty. Yes. Because I think a lot of people associate this trope with royalty, and it can be, but doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
It can just be like, maybe like you're the kid of the villain or the kid of some other kind of important person in history, right? You could be a distant descendant, or you could be like the actual child of. And all of those are technically encompassed here. So.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to say there's like it doesn't have to be that like nobody knows the secret, right? I feel like because I was thinking about this earlier, there's like three different like types of like secret heir. There's like the heir doesn't know that they're, you know, an heir, like Princess Diaries, right? Like Mia didn't know that she was, you know, a princess, obviously.
Right.
There's like the character knows it, but they're trying to keep it a secret intentionally, which is like Lou from Serpent and Dove.
Okay.
Not a princess necessarily. She's spoiler, I guess, the daughter of the like witch queen. And so
Okay.
I don't know if they call her the witch queen. I forget what they call her, but
Right.
she knows the whole time she's trying to keep it a secret. So she knows it's a secret from everyone else. And then I think there are situations like spoilers for King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. There's a character named Hannah Broom, and everyone else in the story knows that her last name is Broom. They know that she's like the child of this villain from the Crooked Kingdom, I think. I think he's from Crooked Kingdom.
Oh,
Jarl
sounds
Broom.
mildly familiar. Yeah.
He's like the big bad villain guy. But the characters in King of Scars don't know until the very end that Hannah is Hannah Broom, the daughter of that awful person. And so it wasn't like she was trying to keep it a secret. And it wasn't even like it was a secret. It's just that the characters didn't know. So there's like a few different ways that you can do that kind of like secret heir thing, which I really enjoy immensely. And I agree, it doesn't just have to be a princess. It could just be like someone interesting, like a fairy tale. Lucy Heartfilia is an anime, but she ends up being like the daughter of this, like, I don't even think he's a duke. I just think he's like a rich guy. And so she's like this, like his daughter who went missing. Which is interesting. So there's a lot of ways you can do that. Like really anyone of like importance or significance.
Yeah. I think also it can be either a premise or a twist. So like Princess Diaries is a great example because that's the premise, right? You know when you go into that movie that that's kind of what's happening because it happens early on and then everything else is the product of that. But then there are certain lost heir tropes, like, you know, spoiler for the Lunar Chronicles, but Cinder, right? In Cinder, that she finds out that she's the lost princess, right? So that's the twist. And I mean, there, I'm sure, like middle ground variations on that, but it can be either the premise or the twist. And so like I've said before, if it's the premise, you can market on it. If it's a twist, don't market on it. But other than that, also, it requires more build up to be a twist, and it requires more payoff to be a premise. So you kind of like front end versus back end. So if you're deciding if you want to use that, just keep that in mind. Because you don't want to like make it unsatisfying in a way where you haven't built it up for the twist, or if it's the premise, but then it doesn't really have any bearing on the rest of the story. What
would you say about Harry Potter being the chosen one? Because that's something that's, I guess, it's kind of a fourth. It's like kind of in debate. Like everyone's like, is he? Isn't he? And he's like, am I? Am I not?
Like whether or not that's a lost heir thing, or whether or not, I don't know. I mean, he knows who his parents are. He just doesn't know that they're wizards. Right.
Well,
so I guess I would say it's not.
But him like being like the chosen one or whatever. Like, isn't that a thing? Like, I forget which book that's in.
Yeah, I mean he is, but it's not necessarily because of his parentage.
No, that's
I would say that's
you
kind
think
of
it
like
should be because
where the line is.
That makes sense,
or family.
Because, like, some people like discover they have like magic powers later, but that's not exactly a lost heir thing. It's just, you know, a twist. It's a good twist.
Yeah, also a great trope. Love that one too, but I don't know that I would classify it here. Yeah,
I agree. Okay, yeah, that's a good place to draw the line. It has to do with parentage.
And then spoiler for the Mortal Instrument series, Cassandra Clare, is that Clary, of course, is the daughter of the villain. And I do really love that secret heir twist. That's probably my favorite version. Just because it creates so much conflict. And I really like the idea of, in a series, that like the villain won't hurt the main character, but for like a decent reason. Like they need them, or they're their kid and they kind of like don't want to have to kill them. And so they try not to at all costs, basically.
I like that.
So I did really like that.
Interesting tension, such like valid tension too. I think there's so much like validity you can give to relational tension with the secret heir thing that you can still do it, but it's not as interesting because there's no mystery to it, you know? So I think that's interesting.
Well, especially because if it's a twist and it's the version where the character doesn't know, but maybe other people do know, then maybe you're thinking, well, why isn't the villain just killing her? Like that doesn't make any sense. And then you find out at the end, oh, it's because he's known all along, or she's known all along. And I just, there's something about that that's just so satisfying. And I love it because it gives reason for the main character to kind of be given this like chosen one status. It's not a chosen one thing, but just like this immunity, almost like plot
Yeah.
armor, but like for a good reason. And I
Yeah,
just think
exactly.
that's really great.
I think for the secret heir trope to be used the most effectively, I think when the reveal comes, it should answer a lot of questions, especially if
Yes.
it's a twist. It should definitely be something that answers questions more than it creates new questions.
Yeah.
I guess if it's the premise, then you probably don't have enough time to build up those questions and answer. But otherwise, like when you find out in Serpent and Dove that Lou is the Witch Queen's daughter, it answers so many questions because we kind of got this like hint, like the idea that maybe she's in hiding. And sometimes like the witches would come into town and she'd be like kind of like wigged out by it in like weird ways. And you would be like, why is she reacting like this? You know? And
Yeah.
then when the twist comes, it's like, oh my God, it all
That's
makes sense
why.
now. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's perfect. I do think that it needs to answer certain questions. Which is true. I was trying to think like, yeah, in Fairy Tale too with Lucy, the character, she's like the main character. Which is again not a book, it's an anime, and it's a wonderful one, by the way. If you guys haven't watched it, it's my favorite. It is what my husband and I bonded over initially. That is
Oh my gosh. I
he
didn't
has
know
a
that.
Fairy
That's so
Tale Guild
cute.
tattoo. Yeah, he's like I remember because we were on I'll That Birch Lightly because it's cute. We met on Match, and what he was asking me like what kind of TV shows I watched. And I said, well, at the moment my favorite is Fairy Tale, and he replied ... like the anime. And I knew nothing about this boy at this point, so I was like, did I just like gain or lose like 100 brownie points? And I asked him something like that, and he was like, I love Fairy Tale, it's my favorite, I have the Fairy Tale Guild tattoo. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna marry this man.
This is perfect.
Yeah. But anyways, so love my Fairy Tale. It's a great anime. It is a long one, but it's wonderful. But anyways, like she's kind of like weird and evasive about her past in like the first like however many episodes before you find out the twist. So when you find out, it answers why was she acting weird? Because I think when you have that specifically applies, I guess, for the version where they know who they are and they're trying to keep it a secret. So it's definitely easier to imply those things, but it could also be like if other people know and they don't, maybe people treat them differently.
Yeah,
If
they're hiding it
nobody
from them.
knows, yeah. And if nobody knows, then it should be something where, like, in the broader world, like in Cinder, people talk about the lost princess and like this
it's
princess
coming up.
exactly comes up. And the fact that the princess was lost really changed the direction of like the fate of the world, basically. And things would have been different if the princess hadn't disappeared and all that stuff. So you should definitely see the impacts either in their own lives or the lives of the people around them, or like in like a broader world sense, for the fact that their airship is secret. I don't know if airship is the right word, but
I like it. It should be.
Heirdom, airship.
Yeah. I think too, you can kind of play around with this trope when it comes to what the readers know and don't know. Because first of all, if it's going to be a twist, you want to be planting, kind of like you said, enough clues where someone might be able to figure it out or they start to suspect. I remember when I was watching, I think some kind of booktuber reviewing Cinder, and they said like, of course she's the lost heir. And I was like, I did not get that when I was reading it originally. It was a total mystery to me, but she had gotten it. And so I think you can kind of play around with like the dramatic irony of what the reader knows versus the characters. And that can be really fun because you can have a reader that figures it out if they're picking up on enough clues, but you could also reveal it to the reader in another point of view, but then the main character doesn't know. So you're reading it for a while already knowing and just waiting for them to figure it out. And so especially when it's used as a twist, that's really great. But I think if you use it as a premise, you can also kind of utilize the fact that the reader is anticipating it. If that's part of the marketing that you've put into it, or if it's going to happen in like the first couple chapters, you can really plant like, I don't know if Easter egg is the right term, but you can plant these little clues or these little jokes because the reader is already anticipating that kind of twist is going to come, but the character doesn't know. And so that can kind of bring some, like, you can play around with it creatively to help readers get to know your character and use that to introduce them and give a sense of contrast of like, who are they now and who they're going to be, which is really fun. And I think that's really cool. I actually really like it as a premise. This is a trope I guess I used in the series I wrote, where they're like descendants of this magical royalty and stuff, and that's something you basically would know if you're reading it for the first time, but they don't know. And so it's really fun to just plant those little Easter eggs, or foreshadowing or whatever as you go in the first couple chapters.
I
But you
agree.
should be doing that throughout if it's a twist at the end too.
100%. I agree. I think the
Yeah.
difference is if it's the premise of your story, then you have to really front load those hints. And if
Yeah.
it's the twist, you can like really leisurely drop them in here and there and you have more flexibility. And if it's a premise, it doesn't even have to be like, it doesn't have to be super subtle. If it's the premise, everyone is gonna probably know going into it like that this is what's going on.
Lean into that and go like really like go
Yeah.
for the big kind of hints and reveals that you can't go
Yeah.
for if you're trying for a twist.
Exactly. Like in Princess Diaries, I think they talk about like her grandma being in Europe or her grandma being like snooty or not having much to do with the family. So there's like a big hint. And she has that I think it's like a journal with like a crown like lock on it that her dad gave her. Obviously, that's a giant hint. There's like a couple other things that are just like in her life at the beginning, and then stuff that you see throughout the movie that you know that she's had forever that you know would be hints of that if we hadn't found out. So that stuff should be a part of that as well. That should all kind of be there too.
Yeah. I feel like with this trope, like pacing and foreshadowing is really important.
Yeah.
And you have to have a sense of where you're going with the reveal, because you do want to be dishing out information. Again, if it's premise, you're going to be dishing it out really early on and in a lot of quantity. But if it's going to be at the end, you want to disperse it throughout the book, which is why it's usually a good idea to have like at least one person in the story that kind of knows and or is maybe just operating on the assumption that like this could be so-and-so's kid or descendant. I don't think that happened in Cinder, but other than Cinder, I think basically every version of this I've read that I really liked had at least one character that was kind of hiding it from them. And I think it can be useful to give like your version of it some variety. Is why is it a secret, or why does this character not know, or why are they hiding it from people? Because there's the obvious kind of for their protection type of reasons, but you can also go with, you know, some other ones. Like I think with Cinder, it was just kind of like this natural consequence of time. Now I'm thinking about it, Scarlett's grandmother knew or something like that. But because she was dead, Cinder just never knew and no one was there to tell her. And so that's like this natural consequence of being separated from her home planet and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, also her life was threatened. So if anyone did know, they wouldn't have said anything because they cared about
it started out
hunted down.
Yeah, it started out as like protection, but then eventually just kind of came to this point of like, well, she's just gotten lost. Like we misplaced her. Like we don't know where she is anymore.
Which I do think happens with the lost heir, the secret heir trope, which I like. But I think one of the biggest problems, like one of the biggest pitfalls with the lost heir or secret heir trope, that I always it grates on me. And every time I see a story that does it, whether it's a twist or a premise, it just really falls flat for me. And I'm reading a book right now that I'm not going to name because I don't want to call it out because the author is like a newer author and I think that she's doing a great job in a lot of ways, very original. But the way that she did the secret heir trope is basically the reveal comes for no reason at all. There should be an inciting factor that there's a reveal. Like in Serpent and Dove, it basically we discover that Lou is the Witch Queen's daughter because the Witch Queen invades and is looking for her daughter because she needs to sacrifice her. Spoilers, obviously. So big inciting factor there. In the Princess Diaries, I forget, for some reason there's like some law or something like the queen needs to prove that she has an heir, right? And in Princess Diaries too, it's even more apparent because, you know, which is also great. Heir apparent. Anyways, so there needs to be like an inciting reason, like
why it's happening now as opposed to before or after now.
Exactly. Like in Cinder and that whole series, there's like a bunch of like crazy political intrigue and crazy political like motives going on that mean, wow, if we can find, you know, the missing princess, we can solve a lot of problems. So there needs to be like a legitimate, like broader plot, broader worldview reason for the reveal to come. Because otherwise you could see foreseeably like some person's a missing princess and they live on a farm their whole life, but the kingdom is like relatively chill. Why on earth would they ever find out? You know, like what would be the insight? And then if they did find out, what would they do with that information? It's not like they're gonna like run up to the castle and be like, I'm your missing princess. If like they were given away on purpose, you know, like there's it wouldn't do
unless
any
they're
how
a
are they
villain.
gonna prove it?
They're
Yeah.
trying to take it back because they're a villain, maybe.
Exactly. Which, and if that's the villain and they have resources to do that, that's go for it. That's a great plot point.
Right.
But see, then you just gave her a reason in this
Exactly.
scenario. So there
True.
has to be a reason for the reveal. If you cannot give a really solid, valid reason for the reveal to happen, it's not the plot or it's not the twist for your book,
Yeah.
because it just ruins it every time.
Yeah. I think too, the reveal has to have like story relevance on the back end. So like when I say that the premise, you need to kind of like fulfill that and you have to follow it through. You can't just have this reveal and then nothing comes of it, right? You don't want
Yeah.
to have this character have their parentage revealed and then it's like, great, here's a detail that doesn't play into the major plot.
Yeah.
So if you're working in a series, I think I've said this before, there's the book arc and then the series arc. You want the secret lineage to play on the series arc at least a little bit. You don't, I
Yeah.
mean, it can be a book arc, I guess, but that just feels like a letdown for such a big deal because I don't know,
Yeah.
your ancestry and your parents are like a big deal usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to make sure that if it is a kingdom thing, that they are at some point going to try to take back the throne, or that now people are attacking them in anticipation of them trying, or something like
Yeah.
that. And if
Yeah.
it's not a royalty thing, like you said with Serpent and Dove, that there is some kind of need for them otherwise, that
Yeah.
someone is looking for them because of this, and maybe they're trying to hide, or they are actively trying to,
Like
take
reclaim
over for
whatever they
someone.
lost.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Another good example of this is Snow Like Ashes, that series. Sarah Rash, is that how you say her name? I think that's it.
I do
This
not
is a good
know.
example of that. And I think she had a good twist in how she hid it. Again, one of the things that some people figured out, but I didn't. I think it's important, if you're going to use it as a twist, to veil it as much as possible, even while you're kind of dishing out those hints. And a good
Yeah.
way to do that is to hide the lost heir with parents that they think are theirs.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to do it, because if you think this person knows their family history, then maybe you're not connecting it when people are talking about this lost heir. Maybe you're not
Yeah.
connecting it when people are talking about this secret child of so and so that supposedly existed, but
Yeah.
you know about it. So when the author's dropping hints, you're thinking, ooh, could it be the love interest? Could it be the best friend? Could it be any of these people? And I think kind of setting up those red herrings makes it more satisfying when you reveal it. In that case, you do need to have some kind of reason why these parents would pretend to
Yeah.
be his or her blood parents and stuff. But
Yeah.
I think that can be a great way to kind of hide it and make the reveal make sense, but still be veiled enough to be a satisfying twist and not something you see coming like from the very beginning.
Yeah, I agree. I think that red herrings of people who might be like the lost heir or the missing princess or whatever it is, I think that that's a great way to throw people off, but like in a really valid way. I think Pretenders to the Throne is a great one, because that one is a real thing that people have tried to do. Maybe someone says, I'm the lost princess or whatever, and everyone just believes them until the real princess comes forward, because I don't know, like some advisor was like, hey, I found you. This person would be horrible. We know it's not true, but if you don't step forward, then blah, blah, blah. And then you would still have to have like a whole book of probably that character coming to terms with possibly declaring themselves, because that would be a huge change in that scenario. But like Pretenders to the Throne or Pretenders to the Airship or whatever, maybe somebody else pretending to be that, especially if that person knows who they are and they're keeping it a secret, then they're like, how much do I care about reclaiming my identity, which is there's just a lot of interesting internal conflict when it becomes the character's choice to reveal themselves or not.
Yeah.
Which at some point, it probably should be at some point.
Yeah, to keep that story relevance. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think too, I feel like this is just a good twist on most tropes that exist. You could twist it up. You could mix it up by making some kind of side character the actual lost heir. So this is going to be a really weird example, but if any of you guys watched The Midnight Club on Netflix,
oh my God,
did you?
Yeah.
Okay, so at the
not
end,
all of it, but it's crazy.
Yeah.
You can ruin it for me though. I won't finish it.
Okay, so like the main character, so these kids all have like these terminal diseases, right? That's kind of what's going on. And they find out, or Alanka finds out, the main character, that one of them had like a misdiagnosis or got healed. And so one of them is going to live and is going to go home. And she assumes it's her. And that's just like main character syndrome all over the place, right? Like, it must be me. I'm the main character of this story. But it turns out to be someone else. And I just think that reveal was so cool, because I don't know. You kind of suspect it's probably not her because otherwise we're spending too much time on the reveal in like a less satisfying way.
Yeah.
But if you have like a secret heir kind of trope going on and you're planting clues that it's the main character, it would be, I just feel like so much cooler if it ended up being someone else. Like maybe there's a
Yeah.
sister and they think they're blood relatives. So
Yeah.
all the clues seem to be pointing at the older sister or whatever,
Yeah.
but it actually turns out to be the other one. Or it's the best friend. And so when people are talking or when bad things are happening, the best friend is around and the actual cause of it, but they don't know that and they assume it's
Yes.
themselves.
I love this idea.
Yeah, or like a
Also, it
love
gives
interest
you,
thing.
it's true. And I think it actually gives you more freedom with your main character when they're not royalty and when it's someone close to them, because
Yeah,
royalty have a lot of responsibilities. So if like they're at any point in the story, they're gonna like
exactly.
step into that position. What they can
They're
feasibly
limited
do
now.
plot wise is a lot more limited. Where if it's
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, the best friend or the sister or the brother or whatever, or the
Yeah.
cousin or whatever else, a lot more freedom with the same like kind of proximity to the throne, which is like
Mm-hmm.
really interesting.
Yeah, they have this more active ability to play a role, but like they're still important, but they have the freedom to make
Yeah.
decisions that like
It's
a
like
royal wouldn't.
the relationship between Zoya and Nikolai. I'm going back to King of Scars again. Zoya
Yeah.
ends up being the general, and Nikolai
Mm-hmm.
is obviously the king of Ravka at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she has way more freedom than him in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways, which is, I mean, that was never like, well, I guess he was briefly in the second Shadow and Bone,
Mm-hmm.
Siege and Storm. That was a bit of a reveal because he was
Yeah.
hiding it, and then it was a twist, and it was a great
Right.
twist. But it wasn't the main character. Obviously, Alina wasn't. You know,
Right.
she's not. You know, the ruler of Ravka, but he was the prince, like
Exactly.
which is great. That was a great reveal too. I love that one, and it was
Yeah.
so relevant to the plot, and
Mm-hmm.
it obviously spun off into its own series because there was so much more plot to tell about what happened. But
Yeah.
Zoya was there throughout the whole series, the whole time. She was never like the missing heir. She was never, you know, she didn't have like some big twisty backstory. But she still, I think she's more interesting because she has more freedom and there's more things
Yeah.
that could happen to her as someone who's
Right.
not, you know, royalty.
Yeah. She has like the protection-ish of the throne, but not the protection of being the most important person on the throne.
Yes,
So she's also in
exactly.
like more danger, but also has the ability to potentially not be on someone's radar. And it's
Yeah.
just like you have all those mixed factors that make it
Yeah,
really
it's
interesting.
so interesting. Yeah, so there's
Yeah.
so much y'all can do with that. It doesn't have to even be like a main character. It could be
Yeah.
someone who's just really instrumental. If they're not the main character, though, it needs to be instrumental. There's no
Yes.
reason. Don't ever do the secret heir thing for no reason. There has to
Right.
always be a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it could be that it's like a best friend situation, and so now they're involved together in the plot. It could
Mm-hmm.
be that it's an enemy, and now
Mm-hmm.
they're fighting against this person that
Yeah.
otherwise they would have been on their side or would have done things differently had it been them.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure, it has to be the main character has to still be somehow fundamentally involved in it if it's going to be a
Yeah.
side character.
Yeah, seriously. Or I mean, it has to be like something that spins off on its own. Like
Yeah.
Nikolai and Alina does end up spending quite a bit of time eventually at like the capital city, and so she works with Nikolai some. But Nikolai's story spins off on its own. It still continues to affect the overall plot, and like they
Mhm.
work together some, but his story never takes over hers as the main character, which is important, but it still impacts it because you can't
Yeah,
do something like a secret heir and not have it like impact the world in a big way.
right.
So that was a
Exactly.
really good balance. And it wasn't, I haven't seen that done a lot. So if you guys
Mhm.
haven't read the Shadow and Bone series and you're thinking, I might do a side character secret, like a secret heir reveal, not a bad one to read and look at for the way it
Mhm.
impacts the story and doesn't take over the main plot, but it's also not meaningless. There's a very important reason for it. So
Yeah.
that was a good
It
one.
is a nice balance. It allows you a
Yeah.
little more freedom with how to execute,
Yep.
enact it.
how to execute this plot or
Yeah.
how to yeah. I think
How to
that's
take
good.
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like whether it's going to be a side character or the main character, I think also a good strategy to kind of veil it so people might figure it out but they might not, is also to give whoever the secret heir is, I'm going to call them the main character now, but as we just said,
Mhm.
it could be a side character, to give the main character like multiple secrets in their past,
Mhm.
because then maybe something gets revealed and the reader thinks, oh, okay, that also makes sense, maybe it's that,
Yeah.
and then for a period of time they're not thinking about that anymore,
Yeah.
so that when it does come out that they're the secret heir, there's a little bit more of that like satisfying twist, like not surprise, but a little bit of surprise.
Yeah.
So like giving them some kind of I hesitate to use this example because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But
Oh, I've already spoiled some stuff. Just give a
I
spoiler
know.
notice.
Yeah, so spoiler for Throne of Glass. So Selena is also like the heir of something. I don't even remember the specifics, so maybe it's not even a spoiler, but she is also like this heir to like a kingdom or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And because she has all these secrets like in the first book that like, you know, she was an assassin and who did she know in her past, and she had this love interest that died and all this stuff, because those things are being revealed, you kind of hit a point where you're like, oh, okay, these must be all of the reveals from her past, right?
Yeah.
But then it keeps coming and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of stuff to happen to someone that's like what, 19?
Oh my God. Crazy.
And I mean, it works in a story way because as like the books progress, you're kind of getting a secret per book, and that's kind of fun because it makes the character feel really dynamic and really complicated and really interesting. And if you don't like one of the reveals, then one of the other reveals might be something you enjoyed. So kind of sprinkling in a lot of different I mean, you don't want to overdo it, but I think that's where Throne of Glass lost me. If I'm gonna really try to pin it down, I think it went a little overboard with the secrets.
Yeah.
But you can have like 2 or 3 in the past and be hinting at those as well, so that the secret heir thing is maybe occurring to people, but it's not the only thing on their radar. So if they're focusing in another direction, they might miss some of the signs.
Misdirection. So, yes,
yeah,
misdirection
exactly.
is great. Red herrings, misdirection. Yeah, these are 2 excellent ways to kind of throw people off the trail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, this is like so unrelated, but I want to share it now. I've been watching Big Sky. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of it.
It's like, it takes place in Montana. It's like murder mysteries and that kind of stuff. Anyway, there's this character named Dono, and he's my favorite thing in the world. He used to work for a drug cartel as like their assassin and like their violent guy. I don't know what to call him.
Their violent guy. Their enforcer.
He just does the violence. Yeah, that's probably a better word. But he's just like also so great because he's like a chef, and he's also like kind of in love with one of the girls, and it's just so cute.
God.
I love him.
His name?
Dono. I assume it's short for Donovan or something. But he gets put in a jail cell at one point with 2 guys, and one of them is like secretly trying to kill the other guy, and the cops don't know that. So there's this chaos going on, and he is like helping, like the guy's trying to put a syringe in the other guy's neck, and Dono is just like single-handedly stopping him because he's awesome. And he like gets up, and the guy is about to go after the cop with the syringe, and Dono just like tears his shirt off and screams, and the guy just looks at him weird, and the cops finally show up to get him, and he's like, ha, art of misdirection or art of distraction or something like that, you're welcome.
Oh my God, I need to see the series. What do you watch this on?
Hulu.
Okay.
It is my favorite scene that has ever landed on TV. It was amazing. Just the way that everything was progressing, and then Dono just comes out ripping his shirt off and screaming. It's like all part of a plan, and the cop looks at him like, what are you doing? And he's like, art of distraction, you're welcome.
Like, you're welcome.
Yeah. And like I guess that's kind of what you're going for. Like a secret heir style situation where you want to be having all of this stuff going on over here that sounds insane and so weird, so that people don't notice this other thing going on in the corner.
That's hysterical. But you're absolutely correct. That's what we've learned from Dono, which now I need to see it.
Favorite. He's amazing.
How would you gauge, how serious or intense would you gauge the show at?
It's not graphic or anything, so it's not, like too serious. I mean, it's serious. They're dealing with like, serial killers and like human trafficking and stuff. But it's not too stressful, I would say. I would think you could handle it on like a good day. Okay. So I wouldn't watch it when you're already stressed, but gotcha. Yeah.
I didn't know because I'm added it to my mental watch list, but I definitely have to it's all categorized by, is she having a good day or a bad day? Got it.
I know you get stressed out by stuff. It's just worth it for Dono. Show. He doesn't come in until season 2, but he is amazing, and I love him. I mean,
he sounds spectacular. He sounds like a real role model.
He's kind of like a morally gray villain, where he's definitely a killer and stuff, but also he's great.
Oh, that's so funny. I love this for you. Look at you, morally gray one.
Yes,
that's funny.
Anyway,
anything else about secret heirs that you want to say?
Let me read through my notes real fast. I think that's it.
Sweet.
Yeah, so that's all. That's a good note to end on. Dono.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a secret heir, but it's the principle of the art of distraction that he utilizes so well that you want to employ in your version of this trope.
In your version, 100%.
Yes.
Well, do you have any writing updates you want to share?
I don't. I know I talked last week about how I kind of started a new project, and I did. I haven't written anything new in it, partially because I'm deciding if I want to really commit to that. Like I said, I think it'll be shorter, so
Yeah.
I think I can knock it out in a couple weeks. But am I like because I just finished another draft, is like my well dry, or is it full enough for me to start a new one? So I'm determining that. And I also worked on like changing the titles for my Lord of the Flies remix series or whatever, because I don't know, I just really struggle with the title because I want it to harken back to the original but also not be the original title. So that's kind of hard. I think I have some good ones picked out, and it's a series, so I wanted to make sure I could come up with enough titles to keep up the pattern, you know. So I brainstormed that and stuff, but it was just kind of casual writing week, I guess, just kind of like figuring out a couple details here and there, so it was relaxed, which was nice.
Yeah, a relaxed writing week. Nice.
Yeah.
I am in my well is absolutely dry mode.
Yeah.
I finally finished and turned in the last of my ghostwriting stuff. Oh, such a relief. I will say the guy was very nice. He was like, "Is there anything I can do to get you to stay and finish the series?" And I was like, "No, it's for my mental health, though. It's not you, it's me."
Yeah.
And it's Upwork taking a huge chunk of the money that would have made it barely worth it. But anyway, so I did like put a bunch of like material together for him, extra free of charge to help him like make it easier for whoever he finds to finish the series. So I don't feel too bad. I think they'll have a pretty easy time with that. And it's a cozy mystery. It's not craft wise, it's not the most challenging genre to write. I feel like it's very formulaic.
There aren't all these little threads you have to pull together and stuff.
No. And honestly, like the quality, like the quality expectation is so different for cozy mysteries. So I'm not too, he'll find someone. I'm not worried about it. But I'm so relieved. It was killing me every single day. And it made me, I know, I'm so happy. It made me start to hate writing, which I that's not my vibe. And the second I started to feel that way, I was like, nope, I can't finish this project. It's not
this is hurting me.
It was hurting me. So my well is still definitely dry, but I'm already thinking about the books that I want to work on. So that's good. So probably another week or two of thinking about it, and then maybe I will actually get to do some writing. At the moment, I don't want to because my brain is very tired. But hopefully in the next few weeks, I will be a little bit filled back up from taking a big old break from writing after this cozy mysteries. So that's my update, which sounds like a non-update, but it's actually a huge update.
It's progress.
Because, it means I'll
the
be
well
able to
is
get
now
back to my
filling
stuff
instead of draining.
Yes, exactly. So it's filling up. It's filling up slowly because also I'm tired. Like I was telling Javi today, he's down at the border and they moved him to a new hotel, and he was like, there's a king size bed and a kitchenette, and it has like this little like living room area and a balcony, and the maids come every day. And I was like, I am so upset right now because
I want that.
Exactly. I'm like, this sounds like such luxury. And he's like, I mean, our house isn't that bad. I'm trying to get like help, like build a new one, So I was like, no, it's not about that. Think about everything you just said, plus the fact that if I was there, I would be away from all of my responsibilities, which means I could actually enjoy the relaxing environment I would be in. That sounds like everything to me. So I am trying desperately with all that I am to find a weekend or a little more than a weekend when Javi can be home, which is hard because like army passes always change. So we don't know for sure. But I want to plan like a trip to get out of town and stay in a hotel. And even if all we do is stay in the hotel and like go get food somewhere, like it will be so freeing for my mind. Because I won't even have the option to like, work myself to death, which is what all that I do here. So I need it so bad. I know I need it because I think about it more and more every day. So I think at some point, whenever I get that, I will also feel really refreshed. So I need just like an overall break, but I also need like just a writing break. So One of those I will get, and then because now I'm done with the cozy mysteries, thank God. The other one I am trying so hard to get
Yeah.
because I am so tired, but I can't seem to make myself stop. Like I said, like I
Right.
do an extra 3 hours of work just on the farm, just
Mm-hmm.
farm stuff exclusively every day. And I like it, but it is exhausting. So,
Yeah.
so it'll be good. I want that. I want my like few day vacation so bad.
Oh,
So I'm working on. I'll keep you guys updated. It'll be
yeah.
amazing if it happens. When it happens, uh,
Yeah.
pray for me that something works out with hobby schedule so we can actually go do that because we were
Yeah.
originally going to go on a cruise, found out we can't go on a cruise. So that's a huge bummer.
Mm.
Now I'm like, okay, that was going to be like 8 nights. It was going to be I don't know if I've ever taken an 8 night vacation. That sounds
Right.
amazing. So
That's
I'm like,
luxury.
exactly. I'm like, even like 3 or 4 nights, like four
Yeah.
nights would be amazing. It would be awesome. So I'm just like, please work with hobby schedule somehow.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's where I'm at, which is writing and a life update because it's all one and the same for me.
Yeah.
So
It's all interrelated at this point.
it very much is, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm just having
Did
a
you
full-on breakdown in both all the time.
yeah. Did you nudge that literary agent with your partial?
I checked and I can't nudge her yet. I checked and it's
Okay.
not been quite 3 months. But I did go, I think like yesterday, the day before, I went and I looked at like the date that she requested it and the date that I
Mhm.
sent it. And I was like, okay, count three months from then. And
Yeah.
I put the note in
The
my
first
query
moment I can.
document. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, on this day. I think it's in April. I think it's sometime in April.
Yeah.
So we're getting there. I'm like a
Yeah.
month ahead of where I thought I was.
Mhm.
So I'm still good. It's just a partial though. So I'm like, even if she wants more, I'm like, she'll ask for a full and it'll be another 3 months, which is
Yeah.
painful. But yeah, but it's good. So that's
Cool.
exciting. I might send some queries because that's not as like creatively draining, which
Yeah.
is nice. But yeah, so that's where I'm at, everyone.
Yeah. I think I said this last week. I sent out like a ton of queries. I think I have like 40 just out there in the world right now, which is a lot at once because normally I
Yeah.
batch them in groups of 5 or 10. But someone on TikTok had said something about like just send them all out because agents are taking so long to respond. And I was like, well, yes, but I'm not sure if I agree, but I'll try it and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
So I sent out all of these. And the weird thing about having like, I think at the time I did this, it was like 50. The weird thing about having like 50 queries out in the world is that some of them actually respond really soon just because of the law of numbers, that
Yeah.
some of them just have shorter response times.
It's
So I
true.
got a lot of rejections in a row. But then I also still have a bunch of them out there that are
Yeah.
giving me hope, and it's actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
So like if I got a rejection from a certain agency, I just sent another one to another agent at that agency if it was allowed,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
so I feel like I'm just being really productive. So
This
that's
is how
also
it
been
feels.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of me. I will do like them in batches of like 5 or 10, but it's usually
Mhm.
like all in the span of a week or two that I'm doing like
Right.
several of those. So I usually have like at least 30 out at a time. I definitely
Yeah.
have like probably like 50 or 60 out right now.
Yeah.
Most of which I've not gotten responses, but it is nice because you get some right away. And I always feel kind of better because I'm like, at least I can mark you off my list, you know?
Yes. Like, all
Yeah.
right, check mark. And also all the ones there was this one day I went in there to check something else and there were 4 rejections in a row. And I was like, well, that's never happened before. Weird. But
Progress.
but yeah, but also it's just kind of nice to well, they weren't any of the agents I was like really confident about or like really
Mhm.
interested in.
Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't have been happy if they'd asked for more, but it was kind of nice because I was like, okay, I'm getting these really nice rejections from people that were like kind of
Yeah.
like, I don't want to say bottom of my list, but just like the people I kind of sent to just to see, as opposed to the
Yeah.
ones where I was sitting there like, dear God, please let this be the one, you know?
Yeah.
I haven't
Those
gotten
where
any
you're
of those
like,
back.
yeah, I would put on your list versus the ones where
Yeah.
you're like, this is perfect for you.
You are the
Please.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
funny.
kind of feel like, the joke about like teenage boys at youth group and they like go up to girls and they're like, God told me to marry you. And like, I feel like
Oh
I'm
my
doing that with
God.
literary agents. I'm like,
Yes.
God told me you're the one. Please pick me.
That is such a real feeling. You're like, the stars have aligned. How can you
Yeah.
not see the stars are aligned
I
for
see
us?
it. Can you see it? Please see it.
Yeah.
Please. Just over
That's
and
too
over.
funny. Yeah, that's so
So,
real. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a real feeling.
But
Well, I'm
yeah,
glad
so
that
it's
you're
crazy.
querying. It's fun.
I
And I
know.
just remembered because I was dumb and I forgot that I have your Lord of the Flies on my computer
Ah,
because I was just
mhm.
sitting in bed yesterday. It was like 7 o'clock and I was like, I want to read something, but I don't want to like start like a new book from my shelf. What do I have that I've already started? And I totally forgot that I'd started that because I was
Mm.
like, I don't have anything I can just pick up that I've started. So now I'm excited because maybe I'll read some of that tonight.
Yeah, you
And I'm
should.
like,
I
I do
mean,
have something I can read.
yeah, I mean the title has changed. But other than that, I have not looked at it. So you're still gonna be like, you're still good.
Cool.
Nothing's
I'm
changed.
not behind yet.
No.
Excellent. I'll have to finish reading it before I'm behind because I know it'll change again.
I know. I was
I mean, I
thinking because I was
assume.
changing the titles, and so I was like, "Am I ready to start writing book two? Maybe." So we'll
Ooh.
see. But book two is
Yeah.
weird because I don't have the same outline because it's not based
Mhm.
on the classic directly anymore. So
Yeah.
it's kind of weird. I don't know how to describe this, but there it is.
Wow. You are just so productive. I am so jealous. Someday.
I mean, we're
Someday.
productive in different ways.
It's
So
true. Yeah, it's true. I just want to be like productive like writing again, but
yeah,
I need brain break space first and then I'll be good at
yes,
it again.
fair. Let
Um
the well fill up.
yes,
So
my well is very, very, very dry. It is the Sahara in my well
poor
at the
well.
moment. Poor well. Anyways, is there anything else that you want to share about your writing?
Nope.
No. All right. Well, if you guys enjoy this episode, our writer friends, or if you're not a writer and you just popped in here for fun, welcome. Glad you were here. Please leave us a review below. It would be wonderful. 4 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. If you hated us, still 5 stars would be great. Just think about how much you hate us and give us that many stars, you know?
Exactly.
That'd be wonderful. Seriously, the reviews do help, and it's great to see those. So thank y'all for who have done that, who've reached out. Thank you guys for everyone who messages on our Instagram, by the way. I often don't say it because Carissa usually checks them, but I did go in there and check today. And you guys are just so nice, and it's so fun to hear from you guys. So thank you for reaching out. Please do keep reaching out. And if you guys want to suggest a topic for us to talk about, we can absolutely do that. You guys can message us there. You can email us at contact@storysirenstudio.com. That's our production company. You can also go to that website and you can check out our merch if you want to support the pod. I was even thinking, you said something about twisted up or something. And I was
Yeah.
thinking we could do a shirt or something that says like
Yeah,
plot
twist it
twisted
up.
up, which
Ooh,
would be
I
kind
like
of
that.
cool, right? So
Yeah.
you're always thinking of new merch. So if there's anything you guys specifically want merch wise, either writers, we can definitely do that. And we would love to give you guys what you want. So go check that out. If you guys do not follow us already, follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We are the Scripturient Society. TikTok is hilarious. So many funny videos you'll definitely relate to if you're a writer. Instagram is funny and also so helpful. So if you missed an episode, don't worry about it. Carissa puts up these like really helpful little fact sheets and stuff all throughout the week. So go check it out. It's definitely worth a follow if you're a writer, even if it's just like your daily reminder here and there to like to keep going. It's daily encouragement. It's really nice. And you guys can always refer to me if you're like, I need to feel better than someone. Guess what? You're all doing better than me. I will be your whipping boy. I have no problem with that. So you guys can always look to me for encouragement to know that you're doing better than someone out there as a writer.
Wow.
Yeah. And finally, you guys can also join our writers group if you would like, because we sure would love for you to. The link is below in our episode description. It's to our Discord. There's loads of different channels in there. If you want to tell us about your pet, you want to tell us what you're writing about, you want to tell us what you're reading, whatever it is you guys want to chat about, we would love to hear from you. So lots of ways to get in touch. Please do get in touch and please share the pod with your friends. I think that that's everything we have. So until next week, keep writing.
And we'll see you on the next page.